Gosh, you really look studious.
Well, hi, Tech. Am I glad to see you? I'm kind of on the spot. The boss wants me to take a shot at front-end work. I've been trying to bone up on the subject. But I never was good in that, so when they start talking about steering geometry and all that other stuff, heck, I'm sunk.
Relax, kid. You got nothing to worry about. All you've got to learn is how to find out if them front wheels is straight. Now, Roy ought to... Uh-oh. Here he comes now.
Ready to give Jack a hand on that front end, Louis?
Sure, as long as I don't have to know all the fancy stuff in these books.
Well, Louis, with independent front-wheel suspension, it's a lot simpler now than when most of those books were written.
The video clip you saw before the title was from a series of training film strips that were put out by the Chrysler Corporation in the 1940s and 50s. I was at a swap meet a few years ago and I was going through a box of old literature when I came across Troubleshooting in the Transmission, Service Reference Book, and it had everything I needed to know to rebuild the transmission in my 1941 Plymouth. It went into the kind of detail that was lacking in the service manual. For example, it talks about measuring the amount of end play in second gear. Remember, it's supposed to be between 3 and 8 thousandths. If there's more than 8, you'll get a clunking noise when the car is being driven in second gear. So it gives you a lot of the details that you just don't get in the service manual. I went online to see if there were any other books like this and discovered that the Imperial Club actually has the entire series nearly posted on their website. I'll put a link to that in the description. They happen to be missing the transmission book, and I sent that to them and they've scanned it and put it on their website now as well. These came with film strips and recordings so that the service department could sit down and go through the training together. And a lot of the film strips and recordings are on their website. If you have any of them that they seem to be missing, I would encourage you to send them to the Imperial Club so that we can all share this valuable information. Let's head down now to the garage and see what progress I've made on my car in the last couple of weeks. Believe it or not, the engine's almost ready to start. I put the first gallon of water in and it ran out onto the floor. Fortunately, I had forgotten to tighten one of the hose clamps on the radiator, and that was all the problem was. And of course, I was imagining that it could have been anything. So, glad to find out it was something simple. Let me show you what else I did this week to get the car ready. As I said, I got the radiator installed. On the firewall, I got everything put together. The passenger side has the speedometer cable, the choke cable, and the vacuum for the windshield wiper. It also has the cowl vent drain and the coil. This is an original coil with a reproduction decal that says Solar Spark. On the driver's side firewall, I have the throttle cable, the temperature gauge, the oil pressure line, and the regulator. And the regulator's been wired up with the new wiring harness. If you look at the interior of the firewall, you can see I've also put in the starter pedal and the emergency brake, as well as all of the wiring underneath the dashboard. Which brings me to the dash. The dash is completely installed. The instrument panel, the glove box, everything is there and wired and ready to go. My mini project this week is the starter pedal. This goes into the firewall. This part sticks up into the passenger compartment. And so when you're ready to start the car, you step on this with your foot. That pushes the plunger against the starter and things get going. It's put together like a shish kebab, and it's an interesting restoration project. Not only do you have the center skewer that goes through the entire piece, you have a metal washer, a felt washer, you have this painted bracket, and then a rubber gasket which goes on the outside of the firewall. Coming through the firewall then, you have this rubber trim piece that goes up against the dash pad, and then there's a spring which causes it to return, and then finally on the end is a cap which is covered by another rubber cap. Well, when this is put together in the factory, it's put into some kind of a press and everything is mashed over on the end so that it won't come apart, and there's no way to unscrew it. So what I had to do is take a die grinder and cut out this part that is pressed on the end, which caused this to come apart, and then everything came apart easily. Let me show you what I did and then how I restored each of the pieces. Now this is the second one. I picked one up at a swap meet in case I had a problem, and didn't have a problem, so I have both the unrestored and the restored one. This is the part, the skewer, that goes through the whole thing. I had it plated. I then took the metal washer and got a new metal washer, and then I also made a new felt washer by punching it out of a piece of 1/4-inch felt, industrial felt. So you have that much of it. And then following that comes the bracket that goes through the firewall. On top of that is the rubber gasket, which keeps the water from coming into the passenger compartment where this goes through the firewall. And it presses over this like this. There you have it right there. And then the spring, the rubber trim gasket, and then finally the washer, which I had ground off the top, goes on. Now to put this back on, what I'm going to do is to weld this on, but I don't have a MIG welder, so I'm going to head down to the local blacksmith and see if he won't put a little weld on there for me. So there you have the restored and the unrestored side by side. Now it's time to put it onto the car. One of the things that's happened since I've been sharing my car restoration videos on YouTube is I've met some really great people. One of them, Bob Riding,
Hi!
was passing through town the other day, and he stopped by to take a look at my progress. He also told me about his 1940 Plymouth Woody that he's working on. Here are some pictures of it. So it's been great getting to know these people and emailing and keeping in contact. That's about all the time we have for today. So, until we meet again, I'll see you on the road.
Well, there you are, Louis. You've learned you don't have to be scared by front-end alignment.
That's right. It's a cinch. You just gotta keep them wheels straight.